What's good? What's good? We back in the building. How y'all feeling? Boy, be Neil in this thing. About to come through with a quick topic. Just checking some stuff real quick. But on today's topic, man, it's just a little interesting thing I noticed when I heard Tia Mowery speaking. It is not that like I don't understand what she's saying or anything. It's just a perspective that I think we should have, or maybe think about. But we're gonna get right into it, and then we'll talk about it after. Hold on, hold on. Hold on, my bad. Putting in my speakers because it's not coming off right.
You're glowing. You're glowing. Can I? So many people have told me that. I was just in New York this past weekend. Two people told me in New York that I was glowing. What's the difference?
Oh my god.
You know what it is? It's self-love. I'm really.
I ain't gonna lie, I always get this like cringe thing sometimes, like where somebody be like, "Can you ask me this or can you bring this up in the conversation?" I don't, I can, of course, I cannot confirm this by any means, but it's just inconvenient. But let's keep going. That's definitely not my point while we here.
Focusing on setting boundaries. And they're hard to do sometimes. Very. I mean, I'm in my 40s and I'm just now learning. So but all of you ladies out there, no matter how old you are, start now. It's really giving me peace, joy. Yeah, so I would say that.
So, what I've noticed is women are very convenient at making and switching narratives to fit their time and their season in their life that makes them look like a hero, victim, growing, just make them look like they're like they should be looked in at a good standard. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's always this perfect whatever, whatever, whatever. And even then, it's like when you start to listen to the narratives that they present for themselves, a lot of times they even contradict themselves, or even the narratives, when you actually break them down, start to make a lot of not make a lot of sense. It start not to make a lot of sense. So, for example, we're her talking about needing to grow and needing to. I probably should have my what's the name up too, just in case anybody pull up. But just for instance, how she was just talking about needing to grow and just not figuring out boundaries, it's just like if we was to really break that down, it sounds like, oh yeah, it's cool. She's on a come up story. She's figuring herself out. Um, she's so strong. She's so brave for going through the self discovery process, right? Which is, I mean, that's a part of it. But at another point, where do we say she's at fault for not ever having boundaries in the first place? Where can we say she's at fault for probably being the reason that the relationship couldn't have been better if she had boundaries in the first place? Like, for instance, women are so strong, women are so smart, women are so wise. Like these are the narratives that you hear from feminists, and these are the narratives that you hear come out of women's mouth. But then you hear a narrative like I'm in my 40s and I'm learning to grow my boundaries. It's like how these things become so contradictory, and especially when you see it always benefit them, even though it could be hypocritical as fuck. So that was my main reason I wanted to come here today. Is like if we're gonna really sit up here and talk about who's the problem, the person that didn't create the boundaries or the person that's just doing what they thought was fine this whole time. It's the person that didn't create the boundaries. You were immature throughout your whole relationship, and now you want to somewhat call yourself mature because you created boundaries, but at the end of the day, you like it all comes off as immature if you ask me. Because you waited your whole relationship to work on yourself. And then once it ended, you start working on yourself to be a better version, but that person could never experience that with you. Like, it just be weird to me. Like now all of a sudden I'm gonna work on my boundaries Now all of a sudden I'm glowing because I feel better about myself. It's like, why are people hustling so backwards to me? Am I crazy? I don't know. I don't think so. Well, like I said earlier, similar to the strength conversation, similar to many of the narratives about how men ain't shit, how men not smart. You would think that comes with women being able to have boundaries, women be able to know what's right and wrong and all these different things. But it'd be so convenient after they break up. It's now like, oh, I didn't have boundaries. So let's listen. Let's listen to like the underlying message there, right? So that means he ran over her. That means he did what he wanted to do because she had no boundaries. That means the world got to do whatever they want to her because she had no boundaries. And that's just so far from the truth. I'm sure she got a lot of ways that she went in that relationship went her way. I'm sure when it would come into arguments and shit, she won a lot of those arguments. But it's convenient for her now to act like, oh, she didn't have any boundaries, she didn't have any this, she didn't have any that. Let's be real. If you at your 40s and you just not learning boundaries, what does that really say about you? Women supposed to mature faster than men, right? How the fuck you just not learning boundaries to your 40s? And it's not only her that's saying this. Let me see if I can find some more. Let me tell you, I have a 52-year-old client who has been with her husband 10 years. She came to help me. She came to me to help her purchase her bachelor pad, probably with her money, with his money. She started college and is leaving her husband at 52. Ladies, take back your power. So these conversations, take back your power. So this is inciting that this man took her power. Or what it really should be inciting and what it really should be saying is discover your power. Take back your power and make it seem like somebody took it from you. And that goes back into the victim narratives. And then if that's the case, you only can blame your husband or her ex-husband. And it's just sick to me because let's just say her case is the same as this case because she put it together. This 52-year-old lady didn't have boundaries, and I'm looking at this. The 52-year-old lady didn't have boundaries, and that's a good excuse for wanting to leave in a sense. And to me, it's like, I just find it disingenuous. Like I said, I find it immature. You call this so-called growth phase, something that you probably should have been doing. All of a sudden, you want to create boundaries and shit. And let's be real. Let's break it down with the red pill philosophy. A lot of times they hit that wall, their personality start to change. They get to that menopausal shit and all that, and those emotions and all those things start to go crazy. There's many different phases of life where we do that, men and women. But around 40s and 50s, bro, they get into that. That's like the super wall, essentially, bro. And a lot of different reactions start to come from these women, bro. They become unhappy because they're no longer beautiful. And it's like when we talk about famous people, they're no longer beautiful. They're no longer the apple of society's eye. They're no longer relevant. They're no longer talked about. That's why you see like women like Megan Good got to get back out there in them streets because it's not enough for her man to only love her. But she won't ever say that. Megan Good won't ever say that. They want the whole world to love them. They need nasty Hollywood to love them. They need think about fans and how fickle fans to be. They need their fans to undoubtedly love them, but not the people that's actually close to them. And then that's what they flip flop to. They go from now I'm gonna leave this man that's been here with my chaotic ass because if you ain't had no boundaries, if you ain't had all this shit, that's just cap. But even then, we already know how a lot of times men are supposed to lead a relationship. So a woman that's immature in her age of 40, 52, whatever, you already know the man had to put up with. Men, we know that. We know the immaturity. So knowing that, somebody start talking loud and distracting me. Can you close the door? Essentially, they have a part of the blame that they could be taking on themselves, but Like completely ignored. And once again, immaturity. But I'm not gonna stay here long, man. We're gonna run it back again just in case I miss something.
You're glowing. You're glowing. Can I? So many people have told me that. I was just in New York this past weekend.
Like,
Two people.
so your whole, like, not your whole relationship, that'd be like a reach, but saying like you want your relationship not glowing, and that's because of relationship. It's not your relationship. It's some eternal shit that you got going on. Like, if you ask me, 9 times out of 10, it's more eternal shit than it is some external shit. Unless y'all just hating each other, fighting each other, and shit like that. It's hard for me to be like, I wasn't glowing because of my spouse. And when, most of the time, is they're not glowing because they're not in limelight. They're not glowing because they're not getting fame. She glowing now because she on the red carpet. Oh shit! I think my apartment calling me. Hello, hello. Bullshit. Um, but now she's glowing because she's on red carpet. But she's gonna make it seem like it's her divorce. She gonna sit on her husband like it don't mean nothing. Because I mean that's all the underlying passive aggressive shit in this conversation.
In New York that I was glowing. What's the difference? What is it? You know what it is? It's self-love. I'm really, really just focusing on.
So where was the self love in your relationship? Like women are so powerful, women are so smart, women are so nurturing, women are so instinctual and all this shit. Where was the self love then? Why couldn't you self love yourself in a relationship? Oh, because loving a man is so needy. That's crazy. That's crazy. These women be coming off so crazy to me. Self love, like that's the reason you glowing at 40. Like, come on, bro. That's such a childish mentality. It's like it'll be just as cringe to me as somebody else. Like, oh, it's because of the universe. I'm just discovering the universe and how beautiful it is. It's just like to me, it's just some bullshit ass like um fake ass organic statement to make you come off like relatable and shit to me. I just don't buy it. So when they talk about the self love and self growth and self development, that bitch ain't doing nothing but eating chips on the fucking couch. She ain't doing like a lot of times these women be talking about self love, self growth, and then they go on Kevin Samuels or some show. They're like, "What are you doing to actually grow? What are you doing to actually develop yourself?" Oh, nothing. I just talked to my best friend about it on the phone. Like, get the fuck out of here. Like, and then you wondering why they be in the same situation. They don't read no books about shit like that. They don't go to no actual links to change their life besides saying that they're in that era. And that would be so bothersome to me. Take back my power era. No one ever took y'all power in the first place. Not from the relationship dynamic, not from the aspect that y'all trying to make it come from. If you ask me. Like, unless you have an extraordinarily bad relationship, I'm not buying it. Let's see. Are you insinuating that she made the decision to divorce her husband because she suddenly had self growth and self love? Wouldn't that make the relationship better? So it comes off as that. Ain't that selfish? Ain't that selfish? This the same shit that women talk about with men doing. Oh, a man gonna get a certain amount of money and leave me or go with a white girl. Well, what to that man? That's just self growth. That's just self loving. I said self empathy. Epiphany. Excuse me. Like that's selfish as hell. Oh, all of a sudden, I'm about to go on this growth journey. All of a sudden, I'm about to go on this self love. And instead of making this relationship better and realizing I was probably overextended, overreaching, maybe being over needy. Now that I'm bringing self love to my table, I could maybe change around the needs of my, like, so for instance, this is the thing, this is how I see if somebody was in a relationship and this happened. They develop self love, they develop self growth, right? They become less needy, they become more self sufficient. That doesn't mean that they don't want that person. That don't mean that they still have urges to be with that person and need them, whatever. But the fact that they're less needy and less self-sufficient, I mean more self-sufficient, means they can operate as an individual a little bit better. wouldn't that mean that if one person in the team is getting a little bit better, whether it's by an inch or a mile, don't that mean that's benefits for the team? If a lot of players go in from football, basketball, whatever sport, and they go in the off season, and they all go on some self growth and self discovery on that team, and then another team that go out there and just bullshit, think they where they at, think we just went to Super Bowl, won Super Bowl, nobody better than us, nobody can be better than us. I ain't gotta do shit. Most likely, the team that went through the self development and stayed together gonna be a more better team. So it's like, why does for women, when it comes to self growth, when it comes to self love, it becomes increasingly selfish? Because when a man grows, when a man has self growth, when a man has self love, he got to learn not to give. He got to learn to not be so giving, because who knows when the next season that that's gonna come, or who knows when or even in the beginning stages of you getting yourself growth and self whatever, it's too early to just be giving. But men become generous when they become successful and abundant. 9 times out of 10 or less, it's like a nigga going to get wealth and shit out of spite because somebody hurt him or some shit. Then that's a whole nother story. But even then, that's an emotional man that hasn't healed his wounds, because all men go through that pain. We just learn how to heal our wounds. But a man wants to, when he makes money, he thinks about a girl that he can help. He thinks about his homeboys that he making help. He thinks about, or give them a job or help them put on. He thinks about a business that he can create that maybe even give other jobs to other people. When a man starts to have self growth, when a man starts to have self love, he starts thinking about his family. He starts thinking about how his kids can grow, how his kids can grow. Like, when a man starts building himself up, he naturally starts to look outside of himself. But for some reason, when a woman starts to self grow or have self love, they need to be independent, traveling, girls trip. No man can tell me nothing. I like it. It just seems that when you talk about survival, you give these women a sense of not needing people, when I guess they become this self growth, self love, self sufficient. And I don't know what it is. Because I know humans naturally. Are women not human? I'm about to get banned like Sneeko. No, I'm being funny though. Because naturally, humans want to help. Humans want to be a part of a camaraderie. Even if you become self-sufficient, at a certain point, you want to help. Okay, I see it. It's not the human thing. It's a survival thing. A woman got to worry about her survival a little bit more than anybody else. Obviously, her kids too. But the reason I say that is because when she becomes self-sufficient, she's naturally going to be selfish, because she built that and she wants to keep it. Unless you can kind of convince her or sway her or whatever. But with all this feminism and all this shit out here, it's going to be hard to convince a woman that's self-sufficient to trust your guidance, trust your wisdom, and things like that. So when they become self-sufficient, it's like they hold on tight to that shit and feel like whatever. In a sense, and not all women, but I'm just thinking. I was just thinking. But outside of that, though, like I said, men naturally start to be more caring and things like that when they become abundant. And for some reason, women get stuck in that survival mode and thinking it's selfish. I'm not about to share my toys and shit like that. I wonder if there's a test out there for little kids who are more prone to share toys, boys or girls, when they're younger. And that would kind of like prove my point if it was to be boys that shared their toys better. But I did see some more in here earlier. That was some good points. I always could see she loved him so much more into. She almost put so much more into him. I think he resented her, especially because his acting never popped. But her acting wasn't popping either. Yeah, like she was the most popular person in the world. And of course, this is just made up. I'm not gonna say anyone thinks like that. I'm not gonna say Tia think like that or her husband. But regardless, like it's hard to say a celebrity relationship who loves each other more for me personally, because even if she poured more into him, I could be like, well, he's providing in his ways that he loves. Like he may be a provider, he may be this, but she's wealthy and shit like that. So what would that matter? So I don't know. I don't know. But that don't mean he don't love her still. Men do love in their own way. Women be wanting men that love them like women love men or women love people and shit like that. But that's not how men love. Like it's just not. They want us to be lovey dovey, romantic and shit. Like that shit for the birds. That shit for the movies. Ain't nothing in my body that want me to be romantic. Like it just like I think of stuff. I think of people. I think of ways to make them. Maybe my idea of romantic and what somebody else's idea of romantic is different. Like if I stop by the store and I know I know your favorite shit, I'm gonna grab your favorite shit without you asking. But I'm not about to be a nigga that I don't know do some shit in the movies essentially. Like stand outside crying out your house with the radio playing to win you over, or like non-stop messaging you because like you're mad at me or some shit like that, and I just can't live without you or some shit. Like that's just not gonna be me. Like not saying I've never had those moments, but it's more often than not I don't act like that. And when I did act like that, I was hella young, and even then it was rare. But how she taking her power back? Did she lose it somehow? And that's the thing is like it implies that the man took her power. So and so to me a divorce is draining on both sides. And maybe because she didn't say that. She didn't say the relationship. I'm assuming a little bit, and then I'm also going off with a lot of the people saying on media, how a lot of women running with it. So that's a big point of me having this perspective. But she could have just been glowing just because the divorce process is finally over. But for me, it always comes off, and this could be honestly, this could be me just being triggered essentially because when I think about it, why no one saying, "Oh, the man's not drained"? Why no one saying, "Thank God he get to go on his self love and self growth"? It always seems like it's coming from, "Thank God she got out of that situation because that man was putting her through hell." Versus like, "Oh, she went through a natural relationship process, or they went through a natural relationship process, and we're glad they got through it without killing each other, going through media looking tacky, and now they can grow and self heal and possibly go on a journey to find their own lives and hopefully be friends because they still have kids and shit like that." That's the conversation that I would think would be going on, right? But it just seems like I said, they come from it like he's the person creating this instead of this is just a natural life occurrence. So if she's taking back her power in that situation, it's like, yeah, you do need to regain your energy. You do got to regain your confidence after a breakup. And that's not a man or woman thing. You can't put blame on anybody because regardless of anything, a breakup is hard, especially if you care. So that'd be my point. And these narratives be making me so sick because it's just any chance a feminist woman get to kind of like push that narrative to be like, yeah, that's why you should just stay single. That's why you should watch out for these men because if you ain't got your boundaries, all this shit, you gonna get drained. It's like, and then even then, let's go to the point of the boundaries. That would imply that she's talking about inside the relationship because once the divorce process and start happening, like that's a clear boundary that you set. Once the divorce process come, like I'm sure the boundaries are not the issues. That was something that happened before and during the relationship. So she did kind of hint to it, if I'm being honest. And this is subjective. I promise T and Corey will be okay, and I'm probably better off as one. You never know that. You never know that. You're not God, but they broke up. Life happens for a reason, but you're not God. You never know because you gotta think about their kids. You gotta think about the chances of her actually finding someone in real life after this. Maybe she's popular, she's famous, but a lot of these women, bro, that's famous, they be so full of themselves. Like, you got to be better than that nigga and better than the other nigga she dated, and it's like that's who she ended up marrying. So you probably not gonna get too much better than him, especially after a kid and all this different shit. Unless a nigga just trying to fuck. So when you talk about she might end up dying alone and her chances of dying alone, even though she's famous, eh, that's a kind of a stretch. Not knowing the man, he didn't. I don't think he filed it for divorce, so he probably would have rather tried to make it work out. Most men try to make it work because there's always a way to make it work. That's like something in my mind that I always contemplate: giving up or keeping going. Like that's the conundrum and Pandora's box that you can always have because at the end of the day, who says if you don't keep going, it won't get better? You can't prove that. You can't prove it. But you can definitely prove if you stop working now, it won't get better. And yeah, it's possible. So it's like in certain circumstances, I get breaking up, like abusive relationships and shit like that, whether it's mental or physical. Get out of it. But when somebody's going through something and they're not doing their best, and the other person may not be doing their best, and the relationship just kind of get hard, that's some shit that you probably can work through. But a most mature and self-aware thing you can do is thing you and your partner can do is not hold another back. See, stuff like this implies that you don't know universal principles. They're meant to be with each other. That's why they found each other. They're chemically, they're chemical matches in the sense of we talk about physics or chemistry, right? They're literally one person. They're not holding each other back. They're one. So wherever they are was a reflected of them individually and together because they are one. I don't know if you know if that's making sense to you. And maybe it's a little bit complex, but let's be realistic. In a relationship, you become one. There's no individuals in the team. There's no individuals in a relationship. So you're not holding anyone back. You're holding a team back. But it's not even a holding them back. It's right where you need to be at. Wherever you at in life, bro, is reflective of who you are. So if your relationship is not the most blissful thing, it's probably reflective of who you are and not your partner because what? Y'all are one. But y'all, a lot of people don't understand, I think, the actual principles of life and relationships. But I don't know, a lot of people think they're gonna find greener grass when that grass in front of them is indicative of how they watered it and how they took care of it and how they nurtured it in the first place. Only reason you leaving your grass is because you let that shit get out of whack because you didn't nurture it the right way. So saying that, holding someone back in a relationship is almost impossible because that implies that one person is better than the other person. It's impossible in a team because no matter how good you are, I am just as good because we're on the same team. What are we talking about? And no matter how bad I am, you got to deal with that because we're the same team. Like that's it. Go vice versa on goods and bads. Like I don't know. It seems like sometimes women are not in depth to want to have these conversations, bro. It just seems like it sometimes, bro. Brown just been taking back her power. I see that going. Wishing her all the best. She definitely was glowing. Get your piece. I ain't mad at you. I'm looking for the ones. So this is the assumption I guess men are coming to, and many I seen some women say this too. Why does it seem like everyone thinks her husband is the reason for their marriage ending? People be so engaged in these celeb convos or relationships. Why not knowing the damn thing that goes on behind closed? They're getting divorced, cool. Maybe it was about time it ended. Yeah, it's possible. Or maybe she just was selfish. Or maybe she just was selfish. But and the only reason I say selfish is because she implied the self growth and self love. Despite the announcement, the overall message is on point. I'm in my 40s and I'm just learning this too. Wouldn't that mean in all your relationships you probably was the problem? Wouldn't that mean in all her relationships this lady probably was the problem? Am I reaching? Who do you blame? If I go into the world and I'm weak and people take advantage of me, do I blame the people or do I blame myself? If I go through dating and I haven't learned my lesson, because it's not like they're not educated. It's not like they didn't have the chance to learn from their experiences. These women have plenty of experiences, I tell you that for sure. Not just fucking, but they have many niggas they talk to, many niggas they don't fuck with. And that's my thing. The narratives be so bullshit. You will put a nigga in the friend zone so quick. You'll put a nigga in the category of no, we can just go out to eat so quick. But when it comes to other things, no, I don't know boundaries anymore. I don't know self-love. I don't know how to distance myself. I don't know how to categorize people. It's just so bullshit, bro. It be so bullshit. But you're in your 40s. You have ample opportunities to learn from your experiences. You haven't learned in your 40s to create standards and boundaries, and you don't think you're the problem? Bro, when I was 18 through college, fuck 18. When I was 15 through college, nigga, I learned a lot of boundaries on dealing with friends and women. It's shit that I would not tolerate because it's shit that they made me feel a certain type of way that, bro, I never want to feel that way again. Why would I even play with that? You telling me at 40, I'm 28. You telling me you got 12 more years of experience on me and you can't figure that out? It's weird. And then we act like that's an okay message. This is what women can say shit, bro, and it comes off as inspirational no matter how they say it. Despite this announcement, the overall message is on point. I'm in my 40s, I'm just not learning this too. That is sad. That is sad. I wouldn't want to tweet that out loud. Some shit you don't have to say out loud. That's one of them statements, but we won't say that today. Because I don't know. Women get to get their shit off. And we let women land on shit they should never be landing on. When niggas be like, let me land, let me finish my point, let me get my shit off. We be letting women get their shit off a little too much, bro, because a lot of shit they be saying don't make sense when you break it down. You probably been with, let's say, 5 to 10 niggas. Spanning, let's say, from 6 months to a year relationship. Maybe even longer, hopefully. Maybe a 3-5 year relationship in there. You telling me through all those relationships, through all those conversations with your friends, families, and hopefully fathers and brothers, through breakups and all this shit, that no one ever told you boundaries. When you go through YouTube, when you go through movies, and when you see how other people handle breakups, you never learn like, that is a good way to go through that, or that is a good way to look at things. There's so many different examples. There's so many teachers. There's so many movies. There's so many books and forms of entertainment, in forms of theoretical, a form of factual, a form of scientific. It's in many different ways you can break down romance or any other genre that you need to break down. And you telling me you couldn't figure out the basics? Because that's basic shit. Standards, boundaries, that's basic shit. That's the first thing you do. Let's be real, bro. You shouldn't be in life moving. You shouldn't be doing shit, bro. You have a spaceship, you have a body, you have a game, like when you say men have game for women, or you have game on how you approach life or an interview or how you talk to the public, or you have good social energy, good social cues and all that shit on how you conversate. Essentially, you have to build a foundation. You have to build a blueprint to how you're going to attack life and how you're going to get through life. Nigga, if you don't have boundaries, you don't even have a blueprint. So you telling me you going through life with no blueprint and then blaming the world? Now you gotta blame your father, you gotta blame your mama, you gotta blame your family, your friends, and yourself. Because That's like trying to send a rocket ship off to space and you did not have a blueprint. You just put some shit together. And I can't even say you put some shit together. Not having boundaries is not even drawing the blueprint, bro. That's like saying you're gonna go to space and just look up. That's essentially what it is. You just look up. Not having a blueprint, not having a foundation, not having the boundaries, bro. That's the beginning fundamentals to life before you can even start actually being productive or successful. Like, if I'm gonna really break this shit down, bro, who is your personality? If you don't have boundaries, your boundaries is your character. Your standards is your character. And you telling me you just not learning boundaries at 40? That's why we be saying these women have no character. And people be wondering what we talking about. They admit it right here. I'm in my 40s and I'm just learning boundaries. You're in your 40s and you're just learning character? That's essentially the words that you gotta, because they're so good with these words and these narratives and how they know if they say it a certain way, it's hard for you to challenge it. Because you can't challenge somebody saying, I'm putting up boundaries. But what was the other thing I said? But you can challenge somebody to say, I'm just learning. I forgot the other part. But y'all get what I'm saying, bro. It's damn near asinine. This is the dumb shit I be talking about. Baby, let me tell you something. First of all, you fucking 40 talking like this. Us cancers? What's that? Cancers, yeah. Us cancers are giving, us cancers are givers and will take all the shit in our youth and in the detriment of ourselves. It's not just cancer, it's women, especially modern. This is the favorite Kevin Samuels type of point. Y'all take all the shit when you're in your prime in your party phase, and then once you hit 40, you wanna raise the price. Yesterday's price is not today's price, and I don't mean that in a good way. I watched the BET Awards. Yesterday's price is not today's price. Yo, yesterday's price is way more valuable than today's price. As a matter of fact, the fact that you took all this detriment, all this wear and tear, because you said it, detriment, trauma. What does that mean to a man? More baggage, more annoyance, more not compatibility, combativeness. When you see that word detriment of ours. But when we see 40s hit, you want to completely switch up. What that's called the wall. What's that called? Menopause. And now we're done. This sounds like an unmarried woman. I ain't gonna lie to you. But even in this statement, who's the bad person? The men for just being men and doing what you let them do? They didn't take anything. You let them do that. Now you're in your 40s, you want to claim a superhero story? It's weird. Let me see if I'll find a few more, but I'm about to get out of here. This woman said she found peace and learned to set boundaries. Finding peace is a battle that I won't get on because that's the constant up and down thing. But to think I will say this though. If you get in a relationship and you want to get out of a relationship because you need to find peace, you need to realize that peace and happiness and all that shit is a wave. It goes up, it goes down. You'll never be fully at peace. You'll never be unconditionally at peace. You'll never be unconditionally happy. Like, I don't know if I'm saying that word, but when you tie in the context of unconditional love, it's like no matter what, you'll be happy. No matter what, you'll be peaceful. That's just not life. So if you're thinking about ending a relationship on the grounds of happiness and peace, you need to reevaluate life because maybe you're just in a season and you're just not mature enough to understand that every season in life won't be happy. Um, and learn to set boundaries. Once again, we already talked about that. She's not looking for another man, nor is she hoping to find one. That's probably not true. Most women gonna be single for a little bit, but they need companionship and form, especially as a form of a male. And just like a man needs a like, are we so are we so fucking delusional that we don't know human like what a human is anymore? Like we try to act like people are so individuals that we can't judge and put them in a box. Bro, we're fucking humans. At some point we're in a box, bro. We're in the fucking box. At some point we're in the box. I don't care how the fuck you shape it. It's only so far you can reach out of that box. Like, you niggas be trying too hard. She's not looking for another man, nor is she hoping to find one. Is she okay? Are you sure she's healed? Are you sure she's at peace? Because anybody that's whole and right within is going to look for companionship in friends, in a spouse, in family, in mentorship, in elders. Because that's the natural progression of what the things that you will want around your life. It takes a community to raise a kid. It takes a community to feel happy. It takes a community to feel whole. So an individual, you can be successful as fuck. If you ain't got mentors, if you ain't got elders, if you ain't got younger generations under you, if you ain't got your peers, which would be your best friends and your spouse, accepting you and having that around you as constant camaraderie and companionship and intimacy, you're not going to feel whole. You're not going to feel complete. Humans are a hive mentality if you have not seen this. Yes, we have individual characteristics about us. But to act like a man or woman that is single don't have the craving to be with another man or woman is fucking delusional. But yet we let women get off this shit like I don't need a man. Well, that means something chemically in you is fucked up. Not even I don't want, but I don't want and I don't need a man. You should probably check your chemical imbalances because that's not normal. That's not normal. You telling me you pass up hundreds of men on your Twitter, hundreds of men in real life engagements, and none of them attracted to you? Nothing goes off? Oh, it's something dormant, broken in you. Even women, you're not attracted to women? Like, you're not, like, come on, bro. You're going to be looking for some type of sexual companionship unless you're dead inside sexually. And even past sexually, intimately, because let's go outside of sex. You're going to want someone on an intimate level, and that's outside of a best friend. That's outside of a family member, whether that's man or woman. You're going to want that. So to act like you're going to get out of a relationship, like, yes, there's going to be a time period where you take a break. But even in that time period, bro, that's what people find the title rebounds and one night stands. It's like, I don't really want nobody, but I kind of want somebody. And that's when women be getting their body count raised up incrementally. Really, I ain't even say incrementally, but a lot, because they'll knock out 3 of them. I don't really want nobody, but I need somebody after a breakup. And that'll run the numbers up quick. But I'm being funny at that point. But that's what I just like breaking down some of these logics that when you see this shit, it's like, it makes sense on a surface level, but when you break it down on a human level, or when you break it down on a fundamental level, it don't make sense. Tia looked great. Drop Wisdom is doing her. The Charles could actually take a page out of her book. I'm not arguing none of that. I'm not arguing anything she said, but she did look great. Did she really drop wisdom? Not really. All she did was say she's working on herself. She's building boundaries. But at her age, we should be looking like, well, bitch, shouldn't you Ben have done that? So to me, it's like, yeah, she's doing her for good for her. She said, enough is enough. I'm here for it. Like, what did dude do so bad? Did he cheat on her or something? I need to figure out. I really don't need to figure out, but I'm just curious. But that would have been, I feel like that would have been prevalent in the comments. It's just like the dude, it's just like the making good conversation. He didn't do shit. She was going through her own mental shit, especially making good. She wanted to be famous again. She was tired of being that conservative woman, because you can't be a Hollywood you can't be a Hollywood star as a woman and be a conservative wife to a pastor. It just don't go together. So she had to pick one. And as a man, I'm sure he had strong values and didn't want certain shit, especially as a pastor, especially as him having an organization that he has to look after, or people that he got to look after, and he got to have his name has to be respected by men, women, and congregation. So I'm sure he was very stern on keeping his shit going. And she had to pick either she gonna be a wife or either she gonna be do her own thing. And yeah, most of the time it's they get caught up in that selfish shit. I'm gonna go do me. The kids could be off, whatever. I'm not gonna tend to my womanly duties anymore. I want to go be a Hollywood actress. I want to go be on the streets again. I want to go see what my full potential is after being in a relationship for 10 years because I'm bored now. Man, I made 40 last year, and it wasn't until I made 40 I put my foot down with people and stopped talking to people who continued to disrespect me. But it was self love that did it. She's exactly right. This is sad. I feel bad for you. Like, and I'm glad you finally doing the things that it takes. But let's be real. At your big old age of 40, you should be embarrassed at yourself. And that should be an appropriate feeling to help you create change in your life so you don't go back to that shit. Like I said, it was feelings in high school that I felt that I would never go back to. The feeling of losing a fight, the feeling of getting capped on, the feeling of people talking about how I dressed, like, or the people, the feeling of having my hopes up on a girl liking me and that shit falling out, bro. I learned to adjust, I learned to adapt and create boundaries on how I move. And like I said, it's been a lot helpful because I've been able to avoid a lot of people that's not being good to me. Am I perfect? No, but it could have been a lot more shitty people around me if I waited till 40 to create boundaries. That's crazy. I'm learning. I'm learning. Look what these went. I didn't have a father either, but I know boundaries. So I'm not even gonna blame fathers. Like, what the fuck have y'all been doing? I'm learning this as well. Boundaries matter. When you declare your boundaries and stand firm on those boundaries, it feels damn good. These women are insane, bro. These modern women, or these women that are just out of balance, whatever you want to call it. I'm learning boundaries matter when you declare it and stand on them. It's I have a point that I want to say, but I feel like it just take too long to get to it. I'm just gonna leave it alone. But that just it's okay. So I think I can sum it up pretty quickly. When you have boundaries for a long time, obviously that character kind of like shapings because you can have boundaries, but how you implemented them didn't always wasn't always appropriate. But yes, you should have created a boundary, but how you went about it could have been done better. And that's like I said, as I created boundaries, I got older. I've seen how to implement them a lot better and a lot more efficient as far as communication, as far as patience, as far as not being so reactive. Am I perfect? Fuck no. But the thing is, when these people wait to their 40s, they start to get a high on it because not only have they not have boundaries, which is kind of bullshit to me, it's like this is where you get the passive. I mean, the shame insults that need to be right, right? Because they want to create boundaries, but they haven't learned efficient ways to do it, right? And so when they do it, they think they're gonna get immediate pushback. They think they're gonna get immediate backlash, and so many other things that's just like pent up because you waited so long to even have these boundaries or stood on the boundaries. You know what I mean? And essentially, they become stuck in their ways, even though they learned these boundaries now, right? So it's weird, bro. It's weird. It's weird. Like I said, it's a deep one. I don't really even want to get into it now that I'm thinking about it. But all I can say is the communication skills don't be as good because of the not having boundaries. So when they do communicate, it's always been a certain type of way, aggressive or passive aggressive, right? So once they do start to create boundaries, the only way they know how to implement them is through aggression and passive aggression. When there's many other ways to implement those boundaries. But since they're 40 now and full with so much hurt, trauma, and disdain to his life because they didn't have strong enough boundaries or didn't have boundaries they stood on, now you mixed having boundaries with toxic energy of you basically self-sabotaging yourself at the end of the day because you're toxic and now you're shelling people out, and it just becomes so reactionary at that point to me. It's so much guesswork because you're not really going to counseling, you're not really asking for help, and let's be real, the consequences are not the same as when you're a kid and like you having to learn how to communicate with your family or communicate with your friends or your dorm mates. Like you just couldn't kick out your dorm mates. You couldn't just kick out your friends. You just couldn't kick out your family members. You had to listen to them. You couldn't just run away and shit like that. So you had to learn and develop tactful ways that work for you. But when you're 40 and learning boundaries, all you can just banish people. You can just get rid of them. You don't have to naturally work with people. You can just shame them. You can just counsel them. You can just find some gossip about them, and it just come off differently when you're 40 and trying to learn boundaries or these fake boundaries. I don't know. It's weird. I don't know. It's weird. I ain't gonna lie. It's weird because, like I said, it's not really that they ain't even doing anything different. They're not even doing anything different. They still on the couch eating chips. They still on the couch just watching gossip TV shows and trauma TV shows and shit like that. They're not really doing any change. They're not really doing any self growth and self healing. Not really any boundaries. Now they're just cutting everybody off essentially. When it's really them because they can't communicate. Every time they try to set boundaries, it's shame, insult, and need to be right. There's many ways to set boundaries. But I said they end up getting lost in the sauce, bro, at a certain point. That's why you see it like uh, after 40, so many single women. They have boundaries at that point. They need a nigga that's rich. Like a younger woman, she may need a few things from a dude, but he just gotta have a little clout, little money, little whatever. But once they hit 40, he gotta have this, gotta have that, gotta have this, gotta have that. It's boundaries to a certain point, but then it's also based on spite and what a lack of what they had, not based on reality, not based on learning from experience. It's just I don't know why they go through it that way, but I don't know, man. I don't know if it's an emotional thing. I don't know if it's a lack of guidance thing, or I think it's just the sisterhood is not honest with each other like men are. I'm on the same shit, but that's been about it though. But I will commend them on not having like this shitty divorce like Kanye and Kardashian. See, this is what you need. Love yourself. When you love yourself, you're gonna attract a person that loves themselves and love you just as much. A lot of y'all don't love yourselves and then get into relationships and wonder why shit be going wrong. It's selfish, bro. That's just selfish to me, man. Cause it's like it's the kids too, though. It's not even just him. It's the kids too, though. And then I was having a conversation earlier, or like a week or two ago, Flying Love, about women talk about protection. They need protection, and I think it's more than just the physical protection. Sometimes you gotta save them from themselves. Sometimes they be in seasons where they be getting too much external stimuli. And the reason I say that is like they start looking outside a little too much. They start looking at other pastors a little too much. They start looking what other women doing. Like, oh, Megan Good out there getting new roles after her divorce. Like they start doing dumb shit where it's like, as a man, if you was to see some of the like the media your girl might be consuming or the conversation she may having, you'd be like, oh, I don't think those are productive to this relationship, right? But as a woman, they keep leading, they keep watching certain shows, they keep talking to certain friends, they keep looking at certain influences until they become miserable in their own situation. Because if anybody gonna live like the Joneses, it be women, bro. They gotta compete with other women. Women are super competitive when it comes to that aspect. And then you gotta think a woman that's been famous, her ego gonna be a little bit more higher than a normal woman. And we being honest. So yeah, it's a lot of shit that go on with that. I'm 40 now and I need to find happiness again. It's like, bro, happiness is seasonal. That's not a good grounds to cause a divorce and possibly ruin the future of your kids because they're not gonna be as productive if y'all was in the same home. Like, I think some people that Disney fairy tale shit a little toxic. It's a little toxic because I think what we be searching for in perfect relationships ain't it. When you talk to a 30-year-old couple, when you talk to a 40-year-old couple, it don't be much magic there. And I don't say that in a bad way, but when they ask you, when you ask them what keeps them going, they be like, we just kept working. It's a simple answer. It ain't that, oh, we looked each other in the eyes and from day one to day 30, we just been in blissful love. It's never like that. It's never like that. And that's from people that's been through it. But women have been conditioned to look for that blissful love, that romantic love, that prince that's gonna save me in the kingdom. And even if that nigga did save you, bitch, you're gonna get bored with that kingdom. You're gonna be like, how can I add? Can we add a new section to this kingdom? Can we clear out that village over there so I can plant a fucking garden over there? Like women still gonna not be satisfied when it comes to even if they got some more luxury shit. Eventually you're gonna get bored with it. And I shouldn't say women, that's humans. But women seem to not be content because of that fairy tale shit. A man would be content with just living in his kingdom, every day being the same, but it's his kingdom. Like he say what go, he not too eager to expand because he good with what he got. A woman, bro, once they get bored, they don't become content no more. And then they start looking for other shit, even though what they got is already great. And then a lot of times that shit just end up making shit even worse. So yeah, it be all type of shit, man. It be all type of shit. And you can be great as you want, but even human nature, we get bored of shit naturally, bro. But that don't technically mean your life is boring. It just mean that your perspective is need to be readjusted. If you ask me, but just read some comments. It look like that's pretty much it. What's the meaning of marriage anymore? No one's staying married. I was just telling my husband that these gens and old, not our age group, just live together and not get married because they're not staying married. I mean, it's no different. It's no different to me. Staying together for a long amount of time and not putting a ring on is the same thing as marriage to me at the end of the day. The trauma, if the relationship don't go good, the woman's still gonna say she got trauma whether she was married or not. The like everybody's still gonna it's still gonna be the same, bro. It's still gonna be the same. You can have kids, all that shit, it's still gonna be the same. I don't really see too much different. But to the point I do agree with, the meaning of marriage is fairy tale. The meaning of marriage is the wedding. The meaning of marriage is the honeymoon. To women, the meaning of marriage is the ring. The meaning of marriage to women is a social, a social declaration that I've made it or I've accomplished something. That's how women feel about it. But the thing about it is, it's like that's just like so what a woman is a version of is like a Jamarcus Russell. They get the contract and now think the work is done. It's like, no, nigga, you just now getting the league. You gotta keep going. Like all that work you did to get into the league, all that 18 years, because I mean it's kind of similar. All that years of working and as a kid, as an adult, once you get to the league and get a big contract, you still got to put in more work. Probably even more work than you ever put in before. It don't stop there. But for a woman, the marriage stops there after the honeymoon, after that. Because it's like, well, I got 1,000 likes on social media. Everybody loves my ring. Everybody glorifies my dress. But to be real, they didn't think about any of the other things that come after all that. And you could tell. That's what dudes end up talking. Dudes end up being the most unhappy after the wedding. Because it's not because they're married, it's because women often change. And no one wants to acknowledge that. They get comfortable. Because they feel like they got it. And I get it to a certain degree, but if a man did that, it would be looked at as lazy. So it's definitely a real thing. But yeah, I was just thinking about what I was saying earlier, the magic of shit, bro. They want that magic, man. They want somebody to come save them. Let's be real. Women really want the Strick. Women really want the Strick story. They want to be saved from the treachery or that a treacherous dragon. And when you think about her life, that motherfucker can spew fire. That was a vicious fucking dragon before it got tamed. Let's be real. That's the type of life that women want men to save them from. Surrounded by chaos, surrounded by drama, and you want this nigga to be a knight in shining armor. Why the fuck I gotta be a knight in shining armor? Bitch, that implies war. I gotta go to war to get you? I mean, I probably gotta go to war to keep you. Hell no. Hell no. So, that's what you be seeing. Like, you be seeing these fairy tale ass identities and expectations. And even if they got that prince, they'll still shit on him. That's just life. You can't tell me Tia, as long as the relationship wasn't abusive, you can't tell me she didn't find her prince. You can't tell me Megan Good didn't find her prince. You can't tell me, not Lori Harvey. Yeah, even Lori Harvey. You can't tell me that. Lori Harvey is the perfect example of, you can't tell me that this nigga is not good enough for you. Michael B. Jordan is probably the best that she's ever gonna get. That's the highest of the totem pole for a girl like Lori Harvey that's been passed around, if I'm being honest. But I don't know. I guess Lori Harvey not in her marriage phase, but when she's 40, she gonna be reminiscing like Biblical Fox. She gonna be wanting that knight in shining armor. Women so weird, bro. Women so weird. That's what makes them beautiful, but it also makes them crazy as fuck. I ain't gonna lie. Setting boundaries at 40, so proud of her. That's sad, bro. Let me be proud of anything. Oh my goodness, bro. You're a fucking child if you just not learning. So you're a child if you just not learning to set boundaries at 40. It's giving your marriage to the rough spot instead of doing the work and working through it and doing the work you gave up because of momentary unhappiness. That be men's biggest fear. Because guess what? Guess what? Men have many moments of being unhappy in a relationship, but guess what? We still do our job and play our role. Why? Because happiness is momentary, and most of the time we know how to work through our happiness. or work to get through our happiness, especially if it had escaped us for a moment of time. We know exactly what we need to do, and we start putting in the steps. Sometimes, if not, you can't blame the other person on not being happy, bro. That's you. But most of the time, men go through relationships being unhappy for many different times in a relationship, and still caring about his children and his spouse's happiness, right? The second, not even gonna say the second, the moment they start to get unhappy and start to get cloudy, because it's unhappiness that happen in a few days, but once the unhappiness compound, you get cloudy. When a woman get cloudy, she give up. She start to give up. But a man probably had been cloudy in that relationship 3, 4 times, but he kept pushing through. And then the second that you get cloudy one time in the mind on some compounding unhappiness, you leave. It's like, well, nigga, if I would have did that, the at the equal rate that you did it, so let's say I would have been gone the second cloudy moment that I had. Like, and this relationship would have been over. Like, why was I sticking around if that's all it was gonna take for us to get out of some shit? And that's real. That's real. But especially when you got kids, especially when you've been with somebody so long, that should be tough. It's like, bro, I went through a lot of unhappiness, and it's not that it's blaming that person. It's just saying that's how life goes. It may have been through some work situations. It may have been through some work, home balance not being right, or it may just been through the kids was at a young age and they finally maturing a little bit more. It's not necessarily the spouse. It's not necessarily in one individual problem. Like the happiness can come from many. The unhappiness compound can come from many different aspects. So it's not that you blaming that person, but it's like, bro, if a man looked at it like how women be looking at it, bro, we'll never get married in the first place. If men knew how women think and why the 80% rate was so high, you get why men not getting married so quickly. It's like if we really not gonna try to stick this out through with each other, what's the point to even starting it? What's the point of even wasting each other's time now? Building all this emotion and building up all these whatever you want to call it. What's the point? I said it's gonna be a quick video. I'm in this hoe. So yeah, that's why you see men not really want to get married and shit like that. Because it just seems too easy for women to hit the escape button. And when they give an excuse to why, unless you're talking about these abusive relationships, it's never a great reason. It's all if you was to listen to some people that had longer relationships or still sticking it through, it's like, well, we went through that shit too. Like that's why y'all gave up. Like think about it in other aspects of businesses. You know how many different times businesses go through things. It's like, well, are we gonna get rid of the business now? Just because we in a down quarter? No. We're gonna create a plan and build for the future to get out this quarter, to get out this slump. You don't give up on something you put that much time in. If you can do that, why would you ever even put your money into something that you can give up that easily on? You must have never believed in it in the first place. See, men go into it believing, and they really never stop believing. You gotta actually, bro, for a man to really stop believing, he gotta get divorced. From the stories I've heard, he gotta get divorced, and even after divorce, the woman still gotta shit on him significantly for him to be like, you know what, I'm really gonna give up on it. Because once a man believes that it's possible, it's hard to break a man's spirit to tell him that it's impossible all of a sudden. Because he never would have started believing in the first place. A man not gonna believe something. You can't convince something to a man is logical, and he truly believes it's logical, and then come up all of a sudden and prove to him that it's unlogical. That's just not how men work. you're gonna have to probably fight that nigga off that ledge. It's gonna be a long, tough argument. You're just not about to sway a man. If he believes something logical, if he believes something can work, it's gonna take a lot of beating it out of him to get him to think it won't work. That's the strong thing about men and belief, and that's another reason why it go God, man, woman, child. Because once a man believes, it's hard for a man to break that. It's hard for the earth to break that connection with that God or that spirit. It has to be a lot of shit to really prove to that person. But I don't want to get too deep, man. A woman, they're more seasonal, they're more moody, they go through more phases, which inevitably or consequentially leads to more cloudy moments, more cloudy days in the sense of losing belief. And that's just the nature of life. The ebbs and flows of life. It's not imperfect by any means. That's just like the moon and the sun. The sun is a raging fire that burns and it's hard to put out. And it has its benefits. Just like the moon has its phases and create the whole tides of the earth, which is our water. Without the tides and all that shit, like who knows how fucked up this earth would be. And who knows what other effects that the moon actually has on this earth, if it can affect the tides. So knowing all of that, that's why the moon follows behind the sun in the sense of theology or psychology. Because they both are beneficial, but if the sun was following behind the moon, you can already see where the phases and different things like that could be bad leadership versus something is constant and the same. Something with phases will probably want to follow behind that while it goes through its phases. It's just whatever. Fuck it. I'm getting into the fucking psychology. Put me back on Emerald Thoughts. This is hilarious, but this is what you get from me, man. You don't get the social topics mixed with the spiritual, mixed with everything else that I know. So it's been fun, man. Peace. Peace.